Here's a non-rhetorical question. What does it mean for a smartphone camera to be good? Is it peak specs or full manual control? Does it have to be a perfect point and shoot? Do you want it to look realistic, or do you want it to be beautified at all? If you ask 10 different people, you'll probably get 10 different answers. I've had the OnePlus 12 since it came out, and I got to travel around Ireland for 2 weeks with it, so I got to put it through some really fun and challenging and beautiful situations. I personally whiplash back and forth between wanting a really good point-and-shoot experience and then also wanting full manual controls for my camera. The OnePlus 12 camera isn't perfect, but I find that it actually strikes that balance between full manual control and really good point-and-shoot performance really nicely. And let me show you what 1 month with OnePlus 12 looks like. Additionally, I've taken a lot of comparison pictures with the stock OnePlus camera app, and I compare it to the popular app GCAM, which is a reverse engineering of the Pixel phone's camera app. Obviously, it's going to be a fairly nuanced comparison because all of these pictures are being taken with the exact same sensors and lens, but it is really fascinating to see what decisions are being made for color science and contrast and shadows simply between the OnePlus stock camera app and the GCAM app. Like I said, what makes a good picture is super subjective, and I'm no more qualified than most to tell you what's what. My wife, however, is a professional portrait and landscape photographer, so the anatomy of a good picture is her profession, and she's really talented. So before adding the camera app identifier for each picture, I'm going to show her all of these comparisons. For each picture, I've asked her to pick a winner with equal respect to which one is more true to life, since she was on site for each of these pictures, as well as what actually is just the more attractive picture.
So first off, I can tell that the colors on the left image are a lot more true to life, even though they're more vibrant, so you might look at it and think like, oh, well, that one can't be realistic. That red was just really bright. But yeah, there's a bit of warping as well on the right side. You can see on the top corner of the van, it's a little bit warped on the right image. The only thing that I definitely like better on the right image, you can actually see the clouds. Overall, the left image is probably the better image because it has a lot more pros with the coloring and not warping the image. The left image, the highlights feel a lot more true to life. On the right image, all the shadows are really dark and even the highlights are compressed a lot. Even though it feels a lot more contrasty, it's just overall a darker image. There's a lot more warmth in the left image. But overall, I think I like the left image better again. I think overall in this one, I like the left image just a little better again. It's a little warmer, even though I like the contrast in the right image for the sky more. I like the warmth and overall just brightness of the left image. The colors definitely come through differently. Mostly the blue. On the right side, it has a green tint, and that can make a complete difference in all of the colors and how they show up. I think I like the left image better because those colors I don't know. I like these.
Picking right just because you're scared of picking left.
The photo on the left is so much warmer than the one on the right, so the colors are going to show up completely differently. I like the image on the left better because it's warmer. I'm always going to go towards the warmer images. I just like warmth.
It looks well. The one on the left is definitely brighter. It's definitely compensating for darkness more.
Yeah. So I think if we're thinking true to life, it was probably closer to the right image for how bright our eyes were actually perceiving everything.
And that's something I called out on my last video, is that I really like a phone camera that actually represents what nighttime really looks like. There are phone cameras that can make it look like daytime now, and that tech is so cool. But to be able to present something as it actually looks, I think is more impressive, or at least a better goal to have in photography.
I can see where you're coming from on that. A lot of times it's not necessarily, oh, I'm trying to capture what it looked like at night. It's more, I'm trying to capture what this place looks like. So you want it to bring in more light and you want to show more of the details. Big thing on this, once again, warmer image on the left, and it's also a lot pinker. I like the image on the left again because it's warm. So at first glance, definitely darker on the right. The shadows pulled up nicely on the left image. Pinker on the left again. I think overall I like the image on the left better because it's warmer and has a pinker tint. The only part that I don't love as much is there's not as much contrast. I feel like it does still need a little more contrast on the building, especially just the white section of the building and the windows. Like, I wish there was a little bit more contrast in the details there. But there's too much on the right image. It feels overdone. So with these ones, the one on the left is way sharper than the one on the right. It's a lot softer image.
Oh, yeah. Check out the trees.
Oh, yeah.
Those look like they were airbrushed on.
Now, were these long exposures on your camera?
They were the auto mode on each. On the auto mode, it takes the shutter speed way down, obviously, but it doesn't. There's a difference between that and the night mode, which is explicitly like a 2 or 3 second shutter.
Yeah. So even if it brings the shutter speed down, I will say part of it could literally be a little bit of camera shake on the right image.
I think I was drunk.
Yeah, you were a little bit. It was shortly after this that you went up and talked about gay swans.
The gay swan.
Lovely. See the gay swans? Oh, stop it, you!
Oh, it's the gay swans! Honestly, it looks more to me like it was trying to do noise reduction after it took the image. So it didn't do a great job at capturing the details without grain. And so it was like, oh, here, there's just an auto noise reduction, especially in the water. There's like weird dark dots around some of the bubbles. Or not the bubbles, the ripples in the water. But yeah, obviously, on this one...
You like the left?
The left image is the best! I swear to goodness, if we get through this entire thing and I pick the left image for every single set. So this one is really close. The main differences that I see are the image on the left side has a lot more contrast. The highlights, if you look at them, it's really, really bright around the lights, especially on the building in the front with the evergreen sign. Whereas it's normal on the right image. Yeah, I think I'm going to pick the right one this time, actually.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All right.
Even though I like the contrast on the left a lot better. So with this one, the first thing that I notice is how overblown the highlights are on the left image versus how they are actually true to life on the right.
Yeah.
Once again, you have super over noise reduction happening on the left image, but it looks pretty good on the right. Photo on the right, a lot pinker. Photo on the left, a lot greener. Overall, definitely the winner is on the right this time. So the first thing that I notice is that the image on the right, once again, the highlights are blown out on the, what is it called? The taps.
I didn't even catch that. Damn.
That's the first thing I notice on the right side. You can't even read a few of them. It's just a white circle. The second thing that I notice, though, is that on the right side, the drinking glasses hanging from the ceiling are all a lot sharper and like there's more contrast happening up there, which I prefer because on the left side, it kind of almost makes them look like they're dirty. So I feel like...
Yeah, you're blowing up my opinion here.
Overall, I feel like the image on the right is better except for the taps, and that's where my eyes were drawn to first. So it feels like the winner would be the left, but I don't like the rest of the image as much. Seeing as it's a phone sensor, you can't bring a whole lot of detail back. So I would use the left image, and then I would just make it look more like the right image in editing.
So the left one did a better job capturing the scene. The right one did a better job with the point and shoot aspect.
Yeah. The main things that I notice is, once again, the highlights are a little blown out on the left image, whereas it's captured really well on the right. And also, the image on the left is a lot more green, and the image on the right is a lot more pink. So overall, I would give the right the win. So once again, sharpness is about the same. The main difference that I notice is you can actually see what's outside the windows on the right image. And honestly, the exposure and the colors on the inside and stuff really aren't that different. So like the main difference is just that it actually captured how bright it was outside versus how dark it was inside a lot better. The right one is the winner again. Also, it looks like somebody is doing a peace sign in the top right window.
That's the ghost of the castle ruins.
Peace.
Peace.
So once again, we have a darker image. So the one on the right is doing a terrible job at noise reduction.
Yeah,
it's just
it really is.
over softening
That's bad.
everything. Color-wise, it's pretty similar. But obviously the photo on the left is the like clear winner here.
It's a good dog.
It's a good dog. I am noticing you can't like pick out the texture of the hair of the dog on the left image, whereas you actually can pick out the texture on the right image. You can even see the little hairs that are coming off of his little eyes. Pretty sharp, whereas you actually can't see that. So the right image is sharper. Right image is a lot pinker as well, and it's a little bit brighter as well. There's a lot more detail in the sidewalk even behind the dog on the left image. Overall, the photo on the right would be the winner. So the first thing that I noticed with this comparison is that the left image is obviously a lot more warm and bright, or like vibrant. The photo on the right is more muted, but you also can see the details in the background, like in the shadows. The shadows are a lot more pulled up in the image on the right.
I remember taking these comparison pictures, and I know the one on the left was surprisingly more true to life.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. So yeah, overall, I like the left image better, even though it is a little more contrasty. All right, sharpness feels around the same again. Obviously, the colors are very different though. Photo on the right is a lot warmer, and so it shows up, it feels greener in that way. It's actually the yellows being pulled out from the warmth. But the right image, once again, actually feels a lot more true to life. And I just like vibrant things better. So, yeah. So this time it feels like the photo on the left is a little bit sharper overall. It also does a better job at bringing some of the detail back in over the cliffs that are kind of in the back. And I'm honestly not sure the correct term to use that, but like... It would be like bringing in the dehaze tool in Lightroom. It's also a little warmer on the left. So overall, I would prefer the left image. So it feels like the photo on the left is just a little bit sharper than on the right. But the main thing that I notice here is a difference in exposure and color. And I do like the detail that's preserved in the left photo, that the shadows aren't taking away from all the texture in those ones that are shadowed. And on the mountain in the background also, you can't see as much of the greenery and foliage and rock texture and all of that on the right image. I think I prefer the one on the left just overall. I do think that the color is a little bit more accurate on the right photo than the left photo this time. Main thing I notice is that the one on the right is a lot pinker, and it's also, the shadows are brought up a little bit. There's less contrast in the bushes in the front and in the water. So I do prefer the one on the left in this case because it feels a lot more true to life. The one on the right is just too pink in comparison to what it actually looked like. Yeah. Even though I like that it has a little more detail in like the bushes, I'd rather see more of the detail in the water because that's what your eye is drawn to, not the bushes in the foreground necessarily. It's just a little greener on the right, maybe less than warmth. But honestly, like the contrast and exposure and all of that's pretty similar. You see the mist over the mountains in the background. So yeah, these ones are so similar, it's hard to really pick a winner, but I think the right one was probably a little bit more accurate. So the main thing that I notice in these images is that the right image is not nearly as vibrant, mostly in the greens. Honestly, the blue of the water is pretty similar. So overall, I like the left image better.
Me too. It's dreamier.
So the first thing that I notice in these images is that the pathway on the right is a lot brighter. And so then when I look at the rest of it, I realize, yeah, most of this image just shows up as a little bit brighter. I think if you brought the overall exposure down, the colors would show up and pop a little bit more. I think that it's basically would be the same image if you just brought the exposure down a bit on the right, which I personally prefer the photo on the left because it makes those colors pop a little bit better.
Well, cool. Thank you.
A lot of it is completely subjective to just your personal preference.
Art is meaningless. Live for yourself. Get off social media, kids.
Or instead, follow me at the Wandering Canton.
Hey, I'll plug you. I'm not here to tell you what tastes to have, so I am not going to declare some formal winner. The OnePlus 12 stock camera app earned more victories from the professional in this situation and in this comparison, but GCAM also had its benefits as well. I'd love to see the GCAM app support more of the phone's hardware natively, since for right now it's pretty bare bones. You can't use the telephoto lens or any of the special shooting modes that the OnePlus stock camera app has on GCAM. And honestly, it has some pretty fun ones. Here are some examples of the funky images and videos that I've taken using these special modes on the OnePlus app. My strongest advice is to pick one of these cameras and learn its unique signature style and just work around it. Each one has strengths and weaknesses, and so knowing that the OnePlus stock camera app might give images a pinkish hue, for example, great, that's perfectly all right. And as long as you know that, you can work around it and compensate if you want. I'll still be using the stock camera app for now, but I'm really excited to revisit GCAM maybe in a few months' time just to see if any of it has improved, since it's an app that's constantly evolving and maturing as the developers work on it. That's all I've got today. I'll see you next time.